All right, so I played in round six yesterday. It was the penultimate round. So it was a very important game and also a very complex one. It turned out it lasted almost 3 hours, and we were the last game to finish. But it's important because we were all like we were on top boards, so like it would affect the ranking quite a lot going into the last round. So I was black, and let's see. So it was Petrol main of main lines. Here's c4, c6, and rook e1, rook e8. And here after queen b3, we actually didn't know anything. Um, I spent quite some time here because before the game, I was aware of this game after move 8 c6, queen b3, which was played between Rapport and Nepo in a candidates game, which continued with bishop g4, sacrificing the b7 pawn because if white were to take, then bishop f3 would be terrible for white. So, um, because of this idea that I was aware of, I was trying to figure out what were the differences after rook e1, rook e8, and the inclusion of queen b3 on move 10. So, apparently, the first thing is that dc4 is not so good because after dc4, bishop c4, the f7 pawn is already attacked since the rook left the f8 square. So I was trying to calculate bishop g4, the same idea as the Nepo Richard game. So after bishop g4, I was calculating if white could take on b7, which he still might not be able to. It was a very complicated line. I didn't really calculate to the end, but I thought I didn't want to go into this. But mainly, the refutation I saw during the game is knight bd2, because after knight bd2, like, basically the general idea is that the rook is no longer on f1, so any queen h4, queen h2 ideas is not immediately checkmate. The second idea is that the rooks are staring at each other on the e file. So for example, a line like this wouldn't be so great for me. Like, the queen has not really a direct access to the king side, so attack would be quite difficult. And the b7 pawn is still hanging. So all in all, in the game, I thought that this was not a good option for me at all, with the inclusion of rook e1, rook e8. So I played bishop c7. After, also, I briefly considered knight f6, but knight f6 I don't really want because as a Petrov player, like, we're always trying to keep our knight on e4 as long as possible, so I didn't want to do that. I played bishop c7. And then he took c5, c5, okay. And then knight c3. So after knight c3, like, I mean, before he played knight c3, I already anticipated knight c3. And my line that I calculated was knight c3, rook e8, queen e8, and bc3, and probably queen c6 or e6, something like that. I think maybe queen c6 was my idea, and to continue development in such a way. For example, 95. This was what I calculated in the game. Queen d6, bishop f4, knight c6. But apparently there's rook e1 to add on the pressure, and also e8 is weak. So maybe this wasn't the best way to go, but this was a line that I briefly calculated. I thought I would be fine. So yeah, luckily it didn't happen. Also, oh, sorry. So after knight c3, however, he didn't take on e8 immediately. He played bishop g5, which I thought was a weird move. I played f6 immediately. In the game, after I played f6, I was calculating, and I was a little bit irritated by the fact that I thought in the game that rook e1 was winning for me, because this was what I played f6, but after I played f6, I was thinking about my decision, and I thought rook e1, and now f6 would win, because the line I calculated was queen c3 and then fg5, and now the bishop is not hanging, as you will see later in the game. But I missed that he can put the bishop back on d2, and the knight is actually trapped because the e4 is not a square because d5 pawn is pinned. So this was the idea, which I think he probably saw before he played bishop g5. So let's compare the position after f6, what I was talking about. That here, if rook e8 check, queen e8 check, and there's queen c3 attacking the bishop, so he cannot immediately I cannot immediately take this one. I mean, I can, but I'm not winning, and most probably I will be worse as well. So after queen c3, I decided to play knight c6. The idea of bishop h2 crossed my mind, with the idea of bishop h2, king h2, and fg5 winning the pawn, and if knight g5, queen h5, knight h3, this one would be quite pleasant for me. But I saw the idea of king g1, a brilliant move, because sacrificing the knight because the bishop is also hanging. So because I saw this tactic, I decided not to go for bishop h2. Otherwise, like, I stopped considering it and I played knight c6. He's a player who is prone to time trouble. So here he is already down to like 20 something minutes and I have like 40 something minutes. So I thought knight c6 would keep it like complex-ish. So I thought it would be quite a nice thing to do. He played rook e1 as expected, and I played queen h5. This was my idea, to play bishop g4 and then to go for the attack here. He played queen c5. Actually, after queen h5, the threat is bishop a5, which I actually didn't see it at all during the game. Like, I didn't see this idea. Like, I mean, I saw it later after the game, like maybe move 25 or so, but not here. I didn't see it right now at this moment. So he played queen c5. I was expecting something like bishop h4, that kind of thing, because I didn't see bishop a5, of course. But anyway, he played queen c5, which is a very complex move to me and during the game, because fg5 is still not so great. I mean, fg5, in the game I calculated like, oh, sorry. I mean, in the game I calculated like queen d5. Wait, sorry. Like, after, if you take like queen d5, yeah, in the game I calculated queen d5, king h8, and then knight g5, let's say. It's kind of difficult to assess this. Like, h7 is hanging, you have some checks, but like, it's hard to say what's going to happen here. So I didn't want to go for this. I played bishop g4 because I thought it was just this, like, it was good enough. So I played bishop g4. And then he played bishop e3. If you were to take on d5 now, king h8, the bishop will be lost because the queen is pinned. I mean, the bishop is pinned, so because the queen is undefended on d5. So he played bishop e3 immediately, and I unleashed my idea bishop f3 finally. So basically, in this sense, queen c5 was a loss of tempo because he couldn't stop bishop g4, bishop f3 at all. So gf takes king f1. I wanted to play bishop b6 because I wanted to play rook, like, I wanted to play bishop b6, rook e8, and then take here, something like that. But if here bishop b6, the d5 pawn would be hanging, so I first played queen h5 with tempo, and also on the f3 pawn. Here, after I played queen h5, he was thinking. I was slightly worried about this idea of bishop c4, but luckily I saw I have queen h3. Otherwise, it might be a little bit problematic. I have to place my rook on d8 and something like that. He played king e2 to defend f3. And here, it was important to start with bishop b6, I believe. If you start with rook e8, now bishop c4 might be really a problem because you don't have any checks. Now I have to move back, and I didn't like that at all. So, I played bishop b6 first. This is quite important in my mind, like the calculation logic. So here I saw queen c3, bishop a5. I saw this in the game. So you played queen b5, but then I played rook e8. Here the threat is knight d4, winning the queen, and so the only move basically is king d1, and I played queen takes f3. I was calculating some lines related to bishop d4, but I thought there's no need to complicate. Like, I'll just snatch a pawn first, because he's also low on the clock, so I don't need to do anything. I just win a second pawn and it will be good. So bishop e2. Here I wanted to here I play queen e4 with the idea of going here, infiltrating on b1, and also going to bishop a5, rook c8, these kinds of ideas, and also defending d5, of course. He played bishop d3. I wanted to play queen e6 here, but if I play queen e6, maybe some bishop d2 is a problem. Like, I mean, I don't want to face this. Like, as you can see, queen g4 is the only move. But I don't want to calculate that. So I thought, okay, I'll just play queen g4 first, forcing bishop e2. Not really forcing, but like if king c1, then there are some tactics here. Like, the rook is already undefended, so maybe I can take on d4, or maybe I can play rook c8. But I didn't calculate this line very carefully, but certainly it won't be bad for me. This I was sure. So, and if bishop e2, now I play queen e6, and the e-file is more closed in this sense. He played queen d3 quite excitedly, actually. Maybe he saw some kingside ideas. So I thought, okay, I'll just stop everything about that. I'll play queen e4. He is pretty much forced to trade, so he traded. If rook e4, bishop f3, not really liking this position. So d, without much thought. Here, bishop c4. He was already down to minutes, and play bishop c4, I played king f8, which is pretty much the only move. I mean, only logical move. d5, he played, and I played. At first, I was calculating knight a5, actually. But I thought, okay, the same idea. Maybe I'll put it on e5 and do the same. So I played knight e5. He played bishop e6. And the idea is, like, if you play something like, I don't know what you can do. If this line, bishop b5, then rook d8, and bishop b6, rook d5, and then one of the bishops will be lost. So, and I also win the pawn in the process. So this was the idea. He played bishop b6. Oh, sorry. Bishop b6, knight c4. So the bishop's hanging. Bishop c5, he played king f7, pretty much for like automatic. And he played b3, which is a terrible mistake, but he didn't have much time either, so b3 blunders this idea. So knight b2, if he played king d2, if king c1, knight d3, so king d2, and here's double attack. The c1 is also covered, so everything is dead now. He played rook e4. Just, I don't know what the attempt might be. Knight c5. Here again, he was down to a minute or less than that, and I had 20 something minutes. Rook c4, knight e4, king, knight e4. Knight e4 not with the idea to take on f2, actually. The idea is to reroute myself to d6. Like, for example, if you take on f2 and then check, you cannot block because of d6. You will lose. So, and king g6, maybe you start losing pawns. I don't really like it. So I just play knight d6, attacking the rook. Here, If rook c7, there's rook e7. So he played rook h4, just trying, not resigning. King d3. Here, rook e5. All tactics work in favor. If king d4, knight f5. And there's no other way to stop the pawn. He played rook d4. He resigned here after rook d4. I mean, he played rook d4, and then I was thinking for a few minutes. I was like, I didn't want to rush it. I was just chilling a little bit because I had 20 minutes and I know I'm winning. I just don't want to, like, I was a little bit impatient. And I thought, okay, let me just calm myself down for two 1 or 2 minutes. And I like drank some water and then I look at the board again. And I was trying to calculate this line, knight f5, and now as I was calculating, he resigned. So the line I calculated was knight f5. It's actually quite simple. Rook anywhere on the fourth rank. Oh, not there, that would be terrible. But like, let's say a4. I will take on d5, king e4, and I'll play rook d4. And then, after this, I will get a winning pawn endgame. I'm quite sure it's winning. No, I'm completely sure it's winning because the off the h pawn is a passer. So this was my idea, but I haven't played it. I didn't play it, and then he resigned the game. So that was the game, and I think it was quite interesting. I would like to add one more line after queen h5. Oh, not this queen h5, the previous one. If you played bishop h4, like as we said, bishop a5 would win. But let's say I didn't see bishop a5, I played bishop g4. This was my plan during the game, okay? So during the game, I saw bishop g4. And if here, bishop g3, there's bishop b6. This was what I saw. Like, if you play bishop b6, oh, like, of course, the engine would love you to play bishop a5, but I didn't see this during the game, so I saw bishop b6. Like, the d4 pawn is hanging, and, like, most likely hang by a thread, or maybe just hanging, and there's no real way to defend it, so this would be terrible for him, too. So this was something I saw in the game. All in all, this was a really good game, and I also gained a lot of rating. Like, I gained 27 rating points, I think, because he was a high rated player than me. So it's quite amazing. And I'm sure the final round will be quite a thriller. There's no way I can win the tournament now, but at least I hope I'll end well on a high note, maybe. So yeah, so that was the game, and yeah, I hope this was fun. And I think a very important moment was, like, for me personally, was when I played f6. Like, after I played f6, I was a little bit pissed at myself during the game that I didn't play rook e1, because as I said, I thought instead of f6, rook takes e1 would be winning, but in fact that is not true. And if I had let that feeling like get into me and start to think about things, then I might squander the game. So it's really important to just forget about things and, don't think too much about what has happened already. This certainly is a thing to remember. And of course, at the end, I think it's also important to be patient, not to overthink, like, why is he not resigning? Because something like that, like, more often than not, you can just take a little break and then think about it. Or just, I think even if, like, here, play rook a4, you can just play a6. You can just chill. Like, remember that you're the one who's winning, you have options. Don't worry, like just get some time first and then you'll think. Just keep yourself calm. So yeah, I quite like this game. So and I'll do the coverage next week after my round 7 game. So yeah.